Okay, this is section 3.4, and this is question 7, specifically part C. It says, given the equation x to the fourth plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared minus 16x plus 4 equals 0, complete the following. List all possible rational roots. Use synthetic division to test several possible rational roots in order to identify one actual root. And then C says use the root from part B to solve the equation. Okay, so A, we were supposed to list all rational roots that are possible, and you did that. So possible rational roots are 1, -1, 2, -2, 4, and -4. You use synthetic division to test several possible rational roots in order to identify one. You said that one was 2, and that you got that correct. Part C says use the root from part B, which means we're going to use your answer of 2 to solve the equation. So in part B, you should have had something that went like we've got 2 in the box, and then we've got x to the fourth, we've got x cubed, we've got x squared, we have x, and we have a constant. And so you have 1, 4, -5, -16, and 4. I'm going to bring down my 1. I'm going to take up a 2. That gives me 6. 2 times 6 gives me 12. -5 and 12 should give me a positive 7. 2 and 7 gives me 14. -16 and 14 gives me -2. And 2 and -2 gives me a -4, which gives me a remainder of 0. Okay, there's my remainder. That little 0 right there, not the whole thing. Oops, sorry. Well, I didn't spell remainder right at all. I'm sorry, Julissa. Okay, that's my remainder, just the 0. So what this says right here, when you've got this 2 in the box and you have all these numbers right here, what this is saying is that x minus 2 times 1x cubed plus 6x squared plus 7x minus 2 equals the big polynomial we started with, x to the fourth plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared minus 16x plus 4. Okay? Now, part C says use the root from part B, which that was a 2, and that we want to solve the equation. So we need to know the other zeros. So pretty much what it's asking us to do is to factor the rest of this down, or to try our rational roots that you got in part A. We know that 2 was 1. So we want to try the others. I would try them in this chunk right here. Okay? Because they've got to be, one of the others is going to be a rational root of it. I would say since you got a positive 2 there, x minus 2, what are we ending in? 4. That gave us our positive 4. Let's try, how about we try a 1? You want to try positive 1? Was that one of our choices? Okay, I am actually going to go to the next page. And so I'm going to put 1 here. I'm going to have to flip back and forth real quick. And let's put that into x cubed plus 6x squared plus 7x minus 2. So x cubed, x squared, x, and a constant. X cubed, x squared, x, and a constant. And I have 1, 6, 7, -2. 1, 6, 7, -2. Let me double check that. 1, 6, 7, -2. Okay. So let's use something synthetic division there. I'm going to bring down that 1. 1 times 1 gives me 1. 6 and 1 gives me 7. 1 and 7 gives me 7. That gives me 14. And 1 and 14 Gives me 14, and that's a remainder of 12. So this one's a no-go, not a 0. Not a 0. Okay? So 1 didn't work. Do we want to try... Let's try -1. I think that was one of your choices, correct? Yes, it was. Down here, sorry. -1 was one of your choices, so let's put -1 in there. And once again, I have x cubed, x squared, x in a constant, 1, 6, 7, -2. I'm going to bring down that 1. That gives me -1. That's 5. That's -5. That's +2. That's a -2. And that's going to give me a -4. Not a 0. Okay. Let's see. What were other possibilities there? Let's try a -2 this time. Okay. So if I try -2, and I've got x cubed, x squared, x and a constant, 1, 6, 7, -2. That gives me 1, that's -2, that's 4, that's -8, that's -1, and then that's +2, so that's a 0. So we have found another 0, okay, because that remainder is 0. So now I have, what was my other factor I had? I had x minus 2. So this is going to be x plus 2. So x minus 2 times x plus 2 times x squared plus 4x minus 1. And remember, all of that equals our big polynomial we started with, which was x to the 4th plus 4x cubed. Hold on just a second, and I'll read it from over here so I can write at the same time. That's going to give me x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared minus 16x plus 4. Okay, so I know so far that I've got x equals 2, x equals -2, and now I just need to factor the rest of this. So let's think about it. Do you think we can factor that? There's a couple of different ways we can do that. We can ask ourselves, first off, is there anything that multiplies to be -1 and it's going to add to be 4? No, we're not going to get anything there. I would say your easiest bet from here, since it's a quadratic, is to use the quadratic formula, which of course is -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I know in this little chunk here that a is 1, b is 4, c is -1. That's going to give me -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 1 times 4 all over. Oh, I'm sorry. C is not 4. You're going to ask me where I got that from, okay? -4 times 1 times -1. There we go. All over 2 times 1. Okay, so that's -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 4, which is 20. All over 2. If you hear strange little sounds in the back, I have a little Boston Terrier that when she barks, it's like she screams, and I'm sorry. But that's what you're hearing. And that's going to give me a -4 plus or minus. Okay, well, remember, when I'm talking about the square root of 20, this is really the square root of 4 times 5. Square root of 4 is 2, and we leave in the square root of 5. So that's going to give me plus or minus 2 square roots of 5 all over 2. Now, 2 will divide into 2, of course, negative 4 and 2 again. So this is going to leave me with negative 2 plus the square root of 5 and negative 2 minus the square root of 5. So I have solutions of 2, negative 2, which I believe you got those. You got 2 and negative 2. Yep. And then your other one should have been negative 2 plus the square root of 5 and negative 2 minus the square root of 5. Okay.